Hey 350, I just want to go over a couple things about structuring your code for this project. Your starter code is going to have no mention of ISAs or a CPU or anything. Honestly, we're basically giving you the bare bones to get started, so I would highly recommend reading through the document, taking out a piece of paper, and sketching what are the individual models you want this project to be made out of, how you want them to fit together. Personally, um, I recommend taking out the drawing to a screen and the making sound functions and taking all of that, putting them in sort of one IO sort of package and making it easy for you to just have one entire uh, maybe one entire H file, one entire C file, or whatever that's dedicated to all of the emulation you need to do. So in general, the kind of loop you're going to be going through is you load in information from a file using fopen. You're going to parse that information line by line, load it into your memory, which is just going to be one giant array, and then iterate, have a program counter, set the program counter to start, and then iterate through each line of that array and just adjust your register values and all of that based on the function you're trying to accomplish. So I have a couple handlers here just to handle key presses and key releases, but for the most part, all of my I/O, my drawing, and making sounds are in separate files. This memory file for me is just for doing these memory operations, which will be very similar to Sys240 if you've taken it before or anything like that. So I'll show you just a little bit of this, which is me combing through, trying to figure out sort of some of the opcodes, what's my first digit. Normally I have an X and a Y, my first two arguments in my opcode. I'm parsing them out as always being a specific location, and then I'm taking the last digit. And in this example, I think 00E0 is default. It clears the screen. And I'm incrementing my program counter by 2 if I read clear the screen. I think I'm incrementing it by 2 because of some oddities later on, but that's just me. But yes, so I'll get out of that. So that's my personal way I decide to structure my code. I'd highly recommend before you get started on your ISA, make sure that you have enough emulation functions ready. You need to make sure you can draw to the screen, draw some pixels, clear the screen, set pixels, grab what buttons are being pressed, do all of that first. Put all of the sort of facade functions you need to get that working, put them all in one header file. Import that header file into your C file, like I think I have at the top here. I'm importing in quotes from my emulator file, from my game file, from my IO file, and I'm using those to be able to do what I need to do. I hope this helps. Once again, don't feel constrained to any of this sort of recommendation. If you've come from 240, you probably can imagine what are the necessary steps to get an ISA emulator up and running, and you can probably jump straight into it, and you probably know that memory is generally represented as an array, and you're going to need to help and support all your registers. If you're not coming from 240, I just want to let you know, please reach out with questions. And one thing across the board I just want to remind everyone of, when you are handling key presses, please remember not to handle that as a singular variable. So when I when I press a key down and I'm playing a game, you don't want to just have one variable that says key pressed. Ideally, all of your variables that could be key pressed, um, you should treat it more as like a map between all of your keys and Boolean values as to whether or not they're pressed or not, because obviously you can hold multiple down. And I just want to remind everyone of that. That's a bug that comes up a lot towards the end, but best of luck, and I think this is going to be my last recording, but if there's any more problems, I'll update.